Welcome to episode 68 of The Weekender. I'm your host, Brandon Roberts, along here with Tom Blanchard, our managing broker of our Southwest office, and my business partner and co-founder of Signature Real Estate Group, Mike Rasmussen. What's up, buddy?
Hey, bud. Finally.
Yeah. We finally got him down from Alaska to come down and visit. So we got him out of the dark.
That's
you
right.
know, it's dark up there still, right?
Yep.
Almost all day.
Somewhere.
All night.
What'd you say? Bring me down someplace where you don't have to shovel snow?
Right?
You don't have to shovel sunshine?
You never have to shovel sunshine,
That's
right?
right.
So
Now, I can't believe you didn't say anything about my shirt.
Oh my God.
I mean, look, I'm watching it, right? I see it on the screen.
You know what's interesting?
It's like blaring. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that.
Did somebody get sick?
Somebody just puked all over my shirt.
I will tell you something about your shirt. The last time you were on The Weekender, you were wearing that shirt. So somebody's sick and somebody turned down Tom's shirt. Nice. I'm guessing that was beta.
The scary part is if they said that and he was actually wearing a different shirt. It means he has more than one.
I know.
At least he's not wearing a sweater.
Yeah.
Right, so, very good. So it's been a good start to the year so far. Lots of things happening. Lots of things happen politically. A lot of speculation on what's going to happen with our real estate market.
Yep.
Just as there was a lot of speculation on what was going to happen in the real estate market when we went into the COVID pandemic, right?
Yep.
So what do you think? I mean, what's going to happen here?
You know, I guess it's similar to what, I know you and I have talked about this before. My biggest issue is, do I think we're going to have some changes? Yes. Do I think that it actually ever truly affects the overall business at all? No. I think it's always blown out of proportion.
Right.
I think what ends up affecting the market, if it is ever affected by the news of the day, is whatever the actual fear out in the market is. So if the fear, if the fear spectrum, if there was such a thing, swayed to the point where there was more fear than there was less, then I think that's actually when you see it to start to snowball and start to change the market.
Right.
But I actually think the market's going to stay healthy. I really do. I think we've gotten through these things. We've proven to the market that it is what it is. And I think there's some unbelievably pent up sales and buying power and everything else that's out there with the buyers. And I think there's lots of sellers that have been waiting to sell because they thought you got half of them think that the price has dropped. The other think it's going up.
Right.
So.
Yeah, there's no crystal ball. But the interesting thing, I mean, our topic for sales meeting last week, David Burnell put on was, and it was great. There's a lot of great statistics. What he's
The market's on fire.
No,
but the fuel. But the fuel is starting to dwindle out, right? So we don't have the inventory to be able to sell. But let me just say what we were just talking about is the more things change, the more they stay the same.
Bingo.
Those folks.
Song about that, isn't it?
But no, those folks that actually continue doing what they've always done, whether COVID or no COVID, were very successful. But those that changed their pattern of work had a little hiccup. And I keep saying that. I mean, I feel like a broken record because it's those that continued on, marching through, and with blinders and just kept focused on what they wanted to get done. Got it done. Those that were looking around and got sidetracked by all the pandemic and this, that, and the fear.
If you actually look back to, I mean, there's always going to be a need to buy and sell, right? And even if you go back to the recession, right, there was still a ton of sales that happened.
Yeah. Right.
There was commission checks made. The one big difference for us in the real estate side of it is the commissions went down because the price went down, right? So you had to sell a few more homes to make the same kind of money, and that's where it really hurt the realtor in that process because they learned to live above their means maybe than what they could have. But really, unless I just think this next year is going to be strong. I think we're still going to have inventory issues probably throughout the rest of this year.
I agree.
I think if there's a dip at all, it's going to be something that we have not seen yet. I really don't think it's from what we've all been worried about. I think if there is any kind of dip, it's almost like always. It's something that we didn't expect to happen.
Right.
And then you'll see an initial dip, and then you'll see the people do what they're supposed to do, and it comes right back up.
Well, we were talking even earlier today. It's like we've gone up to here. Right. Even if we have a dip, it's probably still going to be a healthy trajectory.
Yeah.
So
no one's going to lose half of their equity or half of the value of their home within a year.
Right.
And if you do, call Tom.
I was told something one time by a guy who makes his living making, speculating on the stock market. And I always joked with him. I said, "How do what kind of job is this, right?" And the whole reality is that eventually he's going to be right. If he just says, the stock market's going to go to such and such.
Yeah.
Right?
The reality is, eventually it's going to get there.
Eventually you're going to be right.
Eventually you're going to be right. And so what I'm getting at
saying
is,
the world's going to end, eventually you're probably going to be right.
Eventually you're probably
You might not be around for it, but
Yeah,
whatever.
exactly.
So anyway, Tom, we're getting a lot of comments on your shirt, so gotta love it. But and two of them are from Chris. So
Thanks, Chris. I'm sorry you're not here.
Even home, not feeling well, he's feeling fine, but he hurt his back. He's still got enough in him to rough you up, so that's good. So that's good.
That's my story of my life.
So let's talk about relief. The President-elect Joe Biden proposed relief bill.
Yeah, $1.9 trillion. I don't think it's enough. And I'm a pretty conservative guy, but I still don't think that's enough because we've got to make up the difference of what people have lost in this economy. And he's going to have, $1,400 in additional checks to everybody on top of the $600 that was already agreed to.
The $2,000.
So $2,000. So we get $2,000. The tax credit for next year, if this is all based on if it passes or not, but he's got both the House and the Senate, so this should be law pretty soon. Jumping up the child tax credit from $2,000 to $3,000 for those that have kids, with an additional $600 for every other kid. So if you got a brood of kids, you might make out on your taxes, right?
Can I adopt one?
No,
your dogs don't count.
you can't adopt.
Yeah.
So 160. Yeah, well,
it costs you more.
$160 billion to boost the national vaccine program, $170 billion to prepare K through 12, $50 billion to increase coronavirus testing, $350 billion for state and local governments just because they need money. And then here's the kicker, right? Extending the federal eviction and foreclosure moratorium, to the end of September.
And that's
2021.
actually really the whole reason why we talked about all that stuff.
Was
To
to get-
segue to that.
Yeah.
So we don't really want to get into the whole politics side of that.
Sure
But
we
the eviction, well, we don't.
We can't.
But the eviction moratorium, let's talk about that.
Yeah, look, what does this mean? An end date of September 2021 is right before the holidays.
Correct.
Right? Holidays, they normally stop any kind of foreclosure, moratorium or evictions if you have a house that you're being behind on and being foreclosed on. So really September means January, February of 22. So this moratorium that we're in right now, folks, is going to last until next year.
Now let's clarify it though. It's a federal moratorium, which only applies to what kind of loans?
Well,
Federally backed loans.
so that's talking
Depending upon
about
the state you're in, it changes.
Yeah.
so that's talking about the mortgages,
Right.
but the rental, the evictions.
Now that's state by state.
Well, they won't allow anybody to evict anybody.
No, there's CDC
see.
has one.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is
Correct.
supposed to expire end of this month.
Right.
But ours here goes into March,
Yep.
right?
Right.
Here. But the CDC will probably extend
I
as
would,
well.
I would be hard pressed in this current
Climate.
political climate that we're in, that we're going to now protect homeowners and evict the renters.
We're not going to be evicting the renters.
So look, everybody's gonna be able to stay. I think it's gonna be status quo until 2022, and that's going to cause some other issues, right?
It's going to cause a huge issue because now you've got homes that you can't evict the tenant,
Yep.
which means you can't sell the property, right? Because who's going to buy a property that you can't evict the tenant, you can't get any income and you can't go
Correct.
into, which goes along the things of still continuing to affect our inventory.
Correct.
Right? And so when we get all the way through this eviction or the eviction moratorium and you're able to evict again, or people need to pay their rent or move, do you anticipate that we'll have an influx of properties then?
I do. I think, and somewhere in 2022, 2023, the bill for all of this is going to come due. And what that means, I don't know. I just know that we will have to pay the piper at some time.
So here's my question. To me, what you just said, though, is all about the velocity of it, right? The speed at which these things happen is what determines how bad or how good the impact is, right? So so far, you could, I mean, the three of us would argue this has been a bad deal all along, that it has not actually been benefiting the people it should have benefited in the way it should benefit them. Now, extending it, is that making it substantially worse? Or is that actually is it just drawing out the pain to the point where the prices have gone up enough to justify it so the drop won't be as painful?
I don't know.
Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
I mean, in a way, I'm wondering is, the velocity or the speed of whatever any change we're having usually is what affects us the most.
Sure.
Right? It's not whether or not it goes up or down, it's how fast it goes up or down.
But on the flip side of that, too, the longer that drags out the floor, the more people it could affect.
That's exactly right. And what percentage of our homeowners are not going to be able to carry on the second that it's, Mike needs to shave, Janet? Come on now. This is my COVID beard. I'm from Alaska. This is short.
So let's get back on point. Who cares about Janet and
my beard,
your handsomeness of your face? But here's the other issue that I see happening during 2021, sometime with Biden having the power of both houses. And that is that he'll be able to hopefully pass something that will rent relief to be able to get those tenants that are behind
right
up to par, up to snuff with the back rent and everything else from the government.
And that sounds like the next relief package they're already talking about having next month.
But see, and to me, I think if the government's going to put on the restriction that you can't evict them and you have to hold that tenant,
that's where the money should come.
And look, it's okay. So they do, right? And everybody, we end up at the end of the year of 2021, and everybody's even Steven, right? The only thing that we haven't covered is the cost of having to cover the last 2 years of our economy. That, who's going to pay that bill?
Okay, but the problem with that theory...
Not to get political, but what the heck?
No, but if you want to get into economic theory, let me blow your mind. Have you ever refinanced your home?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank goodness.
And
2.75%.
Okay, let's use your home as an example. When you refinanced it the last time, what was the rate you took it from?
5 something.
Okay, so you took it from 5 something down to 2 point whatever, right? Let's just call it 2.5. Okay.
2.6.
And at the time you owed how many years on it?
I had only
15 or 20?
No, I had like 10 years left.
10 years left. Okay, so perfect example. So you took a 10-year note. I'm even going to use this language. I'm going to use that language. You used a 10-year note that was at 5%. And you refinanced that property, right? Never got rid of the property. You refinanced it out to a 30-year at a lower interest rate, right?
Yeah.
So did you end up reducing your debt load or not? Not debt load.
I don't know.
Debt load you did. Your debt you did not. You actually still have the same debt. You just
Well,
transferred it, right?
Yeah.
So here's my question.
At the cost of that debt.
What is actually the cost for the government to borrow the money right now?
Absolutely nothing.
It's actually
Because
less.
they're printing the money.
It's actually less than zero.
But
The
something's
Fed
gonna
fund rate
happen.
is below zero right
But
now.
who's going to pay it back?
If you refinance a 10-year debt and you were paying 3% and you finance it out to 30 years, but now you're paying 0%, is the debt the same or not? Indeed, is your interest rate no longer climbing?
My head just exploded.
I told you I was going to blow it.
Boom. I know.
But that's what I'm trying to tell you. Is I think they're playing fast and loose with the truth, in the sense that they're not. Yes, we've increased trillions more dollars.
Chris is at
Bitcoin.
home.
Bitcoin.
Chris is at home with his calculator figuring out 30 trillion in debt by then, 300,000 in debt per
taxpayer clock. Correct. But my question is
head
the
just-
cost of that money going up, or is it actually going flat?
But
and
see, the
being dragged
government,
up?
but here's the thing.
Can I have
Government-
this $2,000 you're about to give me applied to my debt? Bring that down.
With
I owe
interest, right?
$298,000.
With interest. But I mean, look, what I'm trying to get at, and the economy and part of the economics and all that kind of stuff, is that I don't know.
That is the best.
Tom
Put
Shirts
that
in debt.
Jason, I love
Thank
you,
you,
man.
Jason.
Oh, Jason, that is
Really
fantastic.
appreciate that.
Wow.
So I'm in the middle of a 30 and my shirt gets thrown back to the 1970s.
Yeah, well, it is costing us all pain, so.
It was a much simpler time back
Oh,
then.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. But so, are we going to have to increase interest rates? Is the tax rate going to have to be increased to help cover that debt? All those things we just don't know what's going to happen in those coming years of 2022, 23, and on.
Right.
But
I think this is no different than the 70s. I don't think it's any different than the 80s and the 90s. I think the government, I'm not saying they know what they're doing, because that would be the biggest lie on the face of the earth. But I'm trying to say that I think as long as the country doesn't go, oh my God, we're in so much debt, then it becomes a thing that just continues cooking on like it always does.
yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And to the sense where we don't feel it. My biggest fear is
Kicking the can.
Yeah, we keep kicking the can, and the reality is a real debt at that point. And that's been the argument for the last 20 years, right? Is does debt matter anymore when you basically finance it down to zero?
Just change it into student loan debt and they'll forgive it.
Exactly.
We're good.
or what was the theory before? Write $1 trillion check and set it
Tommy
aside.
Bob. We should just have a comedy show where just people roasting comments.
Hey, but speaking of roasts,
There's one coming up.
there is one coming up. I just was talking with Azim just about it, and I think the format's going to be, there's going to be some roasters. We're going to have a stage with some roasters like they did in the old days with Dean Martin and everything else. And then we'll have a select group, because we have to keep it to 50 or less. A select group of people that are there live. And then we're going to see if we can't do some television production to it and film it and video it, live streaming, so that people at home can pay
To watch
toward the RPAC
RPAC.
to watch it. So it's going to be
Just be
interesting.
careful who you invite.
It was, I remember, so they've done 2 of these.
They've done
That's-
two. One was really, really good.
They roasted Keith Lyon.
Keith Lyon was
I mean,
great.
how can you go wrong there?
Right.
It was
Yeah.
great.
Easy to
And
make
he was a
jokes.
great sport, and I think he had these cushions with his face on
Yeah.
it. So
Toilet seat covers.
Yeah, that was the first time I tried garbage can fries down at the park over there on Fremont Street.
Yeah.
But and then the next one was Scott Beaudry, and that one went a little bit crazy. So
Yeah, a
we'll
little
stop on it.
sideways. So the thing, and I think you have to have the right person to roast.
Yeah, they couldn't pass this one up.
No, and I think I'm up for it, and I am lighthearted enough about my own flaws that it won't affect me personally. At least I don't think so.
I wear that shirt.
I will wear this shirt or another shirt of similar Tommy Bahama-ish,
I like it.
neon blue or whatever, and we'll go from there and have some good things. So look for that.
Can we go back to the economic discussion for just
If you
one
have
second?
to.
No,
I thought we were off of it.
No, just because I just thought of something when you were talking about your shirt. So, no, I think the biggest thing that we have not determined yet, what's going to happen to our market, to our economy overall. You guys heard about this K economy that they say we're in right now. The people that were able to work from home, that had a good paying job, they actually are spending less, saving more, paying off debt, and they're getting further ahead than they were. And the people that were somebody in their family, their job was at risk or lost their job, obviously they're getting worse and worse and worse as every single day goes by. What I don't think we've determined yet is what the pent-up economy is, or the pent-up money and savings that there is, built up with the people that have actually been able to save some money through this process. Because it's a big chunk of the population too, right? And I don't think we ever give, how do I say it, credence or credit to how living by hand to mouth or check to check some of the people in the bottom of that K economy already were before this happened.
Yeah, they're in real bad shape.
Right, so they're not only in really bad shape, but unfortunately, that part of our economy, and that part of our society, has gotten used to living that way for many, many years. And I'm wondering what effect they're going to have on the economy when we come out of it, when they do get their jobs back and get back employed, and the pent up money and savings and everybody. I mean, you and I have had this discussion 100 times. Like, what happens when we finally can go out and do what we want to do again? I mean, people are going to go crazy. This is going to be the 1920s all over. I mean, it might not.
Let's hope so.
Yeah, exactly.
Roaring 20, I'm all for it.
But I wonder if that's going to have a major effect and offset any of the other problems that we have coming in at the same time. I mean, it's something that's hard to calculate, right? Maybe that goes back to discussion. If you think it's going this way, it's probably going that way, because you can't really, you know, it's
we just don't know
there's too many factors. There's too many factors.
And everything else. So factors, right? The World Economic Forum did a survey of the world. This is a worldwide survey back in October.
Proof.
October 23rd. I had to fill. I was filling in for Chris, and Chris always has this interesting stuff. Has a list, right? So I said, "Oh, I better have a list."
I just pull it off my
I know. So between October 23rd, 11/6, they did a worldwide survey of thoughts that the events that would happen or occur in 2021, and back then, right, we didn't have the vaccine not developed yet, and one of the first questions was a successful vaccine for COVID-19 would be developed, and 68% of the world population that was surveyed said that it would be likely developed, and 23 not. Interesting. Well, most
63% of the people were right.
Well, 68% were right. Those that thought would have it, but. Would people be able to, or would still have to wear a mask through 2021? In a year, right? 61% thought they would, 31% thought they didn't. And it sort of sounds like a lot of the normal mask wearers versus non-mask wearers, right? It's around 50-50, 60-30. I know you'll all of a sudden you're becoming a mask wearer.
66% me and you have masks.
I know.
33%. This study is dead on. Nice job.
See how I keep moving away from you?
Now, interesting enough, 47% thinks that there will be another global pandemic caused by a new virus
in the same year?
2021. Oh, wow. 47% says there'll be another virus.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Now, my question is you don't happen to have a stat on the people that are basically lock-ins and people that are so fearful that they've actually shut down their lives? Do they have
41%.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. I wonder if it's about close to that same percentage. We everybody knows people that basically the fear of the virus has been more overwhelming
For some
than the actual virus itself, for some, right? And then also the percentage of people that believe that it doesn't even exist is amazingly high, right? But I wonder if that's about the same number. Same number of people believe there's going to be another one as the same people that are paralyzed by this. Right?
Pretty scary, right?
But 52% of the people think it's unlikely that we'll get back to normal after COVID-19.
Then we'll get back to normal?
Yeah.
What is normal?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. Well, back to the way we were before, so.
Was the way we were before.
We'll never go back to the way you were before because, some of us attempt to get back to the 70s.
I'm trying.
But,
right.
But no, because
I really
change,
try.
right?
Yeah.
Things change all the time. Now,
My son wears it.
all right, so what's next?
60% think it's unlikely that the economy will have fully recovered from the effects of COVID-19 pandemic in 2021.
Well, only 32%
Think it was going to be okay. That we were recovering.
Here's what's really bad about that stat. And now this shows how bad polls are. Depending upon how you look at the economy, determines whether or not it's a good economy or not.
Right.
If you're a stock market person, the economy is the best economy you've ever been in.
if you're in real estate,
If you're in real estate, if you're actually doing what you're supposed to be doing every day right now, this is the best economy you ever had as a real estate agent, right?
Right.
So that's the question. You know, I mean, it's more about what part of society you're in.
What's the last one?
59% think it's unlikely that the world will become a better place.
There you go. You heard it here on the Weekender. Thanks for tuning in.
Pessimist.
And we'd love to see you next week.
I feel it change is coming. It's closer every day. I feel the waters rising.